Hello and welcome to episode 200 of the Brass Junkies. How about that, Lance? My name is Andrew Hitz, and I'm joined by my beautiful co-host, the ukulele playing hand model from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Lance LaDuke. Lance, how are you?
I'm just ducky.
That's so.
I feel like, you know what I feel like? I feel like I ate a great big cookie. And now slowly there's like a brain amoeba working its way, and I may not make it through the rest of the episode. In fact, if this is my last episode, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate spending time with you all. And let's all adjust our glasses at the same time. Okay, very good. Perfect.
So the best part of this is that we've collected everyone here under the auspices of this being Lance's final episode of the Brass Junkies, but in fact, it's not his last episode. This is actually an intervention for Jeff Connor, because we want to talk to him about his drinking problem. So Jeff, we all care a lot about you, and most of us care a lot about you. No, this is the who. This is the end of the line for Lance LaDuke, which has been coming for like about a year, a little over a year, and
don't cry, Rex. Rex, don't cry.
Like, he always gets choked up when he's in Idaho. Yeah, so there's some stuff to unpack there, but I'm not qualified. So I wanted to thank Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for the Brass Junkies. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba, including the Andrew Hitz Artist Model Tuba Mouthpiece and the Lance LaDuke Model Euphonium Mouthpiece. You can find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So I will start here. How is well? First of all, what are you drinking?
It is the Wiggle Whiskey, which is a local distiller, CMU product actually, and this is the Oktoberfest, which was a partnership with Penn Brewery, and it has a horn on it. And I thought, well, there you go. And so that's what I'm drinking.
Yeah, the horn part, that's the kind of rationale that got Jeff into this situation. So, you know.
It's pretty. It's a picture of a trumpet on it.
It's the first Tuesday in the month. That's like a, festive time.
That's pretty fun.
Panera Sip Club, baby. Yeah,
Panera Sip Club.
My iced tea every day.
That's really funny. I was just in Panera. I haven't been in a Panera in a long time, and I saw that there was a thing called a Sip Club, and I thought, who would join the Sip Club?
Wait a minute. That's real? What is the Panera Sip Club? This is going to make me somehow more disappointed in Jeff than I already am.
It's awesome. It's like $10 a month, free drinks. Every time you go into Panera,
it's free drinks so long as you pay $10 a month.
For $10 a month.
Hey, Lance, who am I? All right, so all we have is an 8 a.m. masterclass, and then we have a 9:30 rehearsal with the concert band, and then we have a 10:45 rehearsal with the wind ensemble, and then we have a 12 o'clock lunch with all of the Tri-M kids, and then we have a 1 o'clock clinic across town. But other than that, we have a completely free day. That was Jeff Connor. He would actually like talk for 45 seconds straight about all the things we had to do, but as long as it ended before like 9 p.m., he would refer to that as a completely free day. He was just counting on us being so checked out that we didn't notice. That was all right. So this is going to be very loose. We are here to.
It's going to be not yet, but soon it will be very loose.
First of all, Patrick Sheridan sends his regrets. He is in Mexico with his amazing wife, And I pointed out that they have internet in Mexico, and that was when the texting back and forth stopped. So, yeah, he is not on. He is not able to join us because he is on vacation. And also, JD Shaw is on an airplane currently. So, yeah.
Pat texted me, and he said, "Hey, why are you leaving the show? Because I'm going to record something funny about reasons that you're leaving the show, and I want to make sure you don't have brain cancer or something." I was like, "Now that's a dear friend. Yeah, that's a good friend."
I believe you that he did that.
So we're going to keep things loose here, and we're going to share some stories and some memories about. Oh, by the way, I do need to point out that Lance, in case you missed it, that when you held up the bottle with the horn on it, that Jim Nova here of Pittsburgh Symphony fame, and a big Star Trek geek, that he. that he put in the chat another horn he can play out of tune.
Yeah, that's pretty I know, Jim, just unmute. There's some funny stuff in there.
Yeah, that's
not all of it, but you got to go for it. It's a numbers game.
You miss every shot you don't take, right?
Yeah.
Amen.
So, I mean,
and actually,
at least that's what you told me. Right?
The guy this was, you don't care, but I'm going to tell you, because Andrew, you'll think this is funny in a minute. This was started by a CMU
Boy, have I heard
alum,
that every time.
And it just got bought out by the guy who owns the Pittsburgh Pirates. So,
so it should be terrible. It should be just terrible anytime now.
So it's gonna fail to meet already low expectations. That's it's
gonna find new low bars to fall under.
So we're gonna kind of go around the horn here. Although I want people to feel free to just chime in. But Jeff Connor. What do you think about Lance LaDuke? I'm teeing this up for you, man. Like, just take a swing for the fences here.
What do I think about Lance LaDuke?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was a great colleague for how long were you in the band? 5 years? No, seriously.
7.
6 years?
I was
7
a great
years?
colleague. No. To be clear, I was a great colleague for 5 years. I was in the band for 7 years.
No, you're a great colleague for 7 years. One of the best things that I remember thinking about Lance is being on stage, and at the end of Caravan,
yeah.
He would always after he would play, he had a little solo, and then it would be my turn to do a solo. I mean, a little 8-measure solo that I would play, and he would empty his spit valve every single night on my shoes. He would just lean over and just empty his spit valve on my shoes, and trying to get me to laugh.
To be fair, it was only
right.
It was only 100 days a year.
Yeah. But I mean, just the great times. Just every place we went. I mean, all the the stories from especially overseas. And we would be places and in situations, and Lance would always have the best line. He would just look at me and go, "Where the hell are we?" We would be in, we were, I mean, one great thing, and we can't tell the whole story, but a little part of the story in Korea with the famous Mr. Kim, and we're at a little barbecue place that's half outside, and the presenter knew that for whatever reason I like chicken, and all of a sudden we're just there, and this guy on a moped comes up with a that's filled with in the back of the moped is Kentucky Fried Chicken. And we're just, it's just
delivered Kentucky Fried Chicken to the restaurant while we were eating in the restaurant.
Yeah,
actually, Andrew, you fell that night. There was a plastic chair that did not accept your.
So I mean, it's just great memories, and it's just having the opportunity to see the world and with you and yeah.
Well, we were the old guys. No, there's a pig farmer on the line now.
Hey.
All right, we'll get to him in a second. So I like that you're.
Is this your finger?
All right, there you go. I have never needed to put explicit on the episode title that was a visual explicit before anyone actually cursed. That was awesome. Jeff Nelson of Canadian Brass, if you're listening, just came on and just flipped double birds, which is very, very rude. Yeah, very rude to do that to Jeff Connor.
And then he left.
Yeah. I had forgotten that. I mean, and when Jeff says that Lance used to do that every night, he means every night. Every time that we played Caravan, which was every masterclass, every concert, every everything, Lance would dump his spit on Jeff's shoes, and he would try to not have he would try to not react, because he would try to make, which was actually the funniest part. Jeff doesn't understand that if he just reacted like twice, Lance would have stopped, because it would have been boring. But it's like trying to get somebody to laugh on a Zoom call that's real serious. Anyway,
it was a challenge. It was a challenge.
Jeff, why didn't you move your shoe, man?
What? Well, because I was in between.
Now you tell me.
Yeah, because I was in between. He was Lance would be right to the left of me, and Andrew would be to the right of me. So I really couldn't move. And if I did move a little bit, move up a little bit or back a little bit, he just followed me.
I just followed.
You can tell he thought this through. He was thinking about his options.
Oh, yeah.
Does Lance realize you dried your shoe off on his pillow every night? Does he know about that?
No.
Yeah, because he would like elbow me and say, "Hey, man, I just dried my shoe on your pillow," and I'd say, "Yeah,
Lance
go back to sleep." Yeah.
And you were just wondering why your pillow smells like chicken and pickles or something, right?
It wouldn't be pickles, that's for sure.
Yeah, no.
So, Jeff, I'm sure the question on everyone's mind is, was it intimidating being surrounded by so much talent, like with Lance and I flanking you during Caravan?
Sure.
Hey, pretty good. That's pretty good, Jeff Connor.
I learned from the master. I learned from the master.
Hey, Lance, do you want to share any stories about Jeff? I'm going to give you an opportunity to share a story about everybody here, too.
Oh, that's a good question.
Fair.
I should have thought that through. I'm trying to think stories that we could tell. This isn't even mean. So, and I might have even said this when you were on the show before, but I felt like, because you and I were the older guys compared to the other guys, and you and I had, our sons are the same age, and so there was a lot of I felt like we were kind of Statler and Waldorf sometimes, like traveling around the planet, hanging with these three nitwits, and acting equally nitwitted, but there was just like some sort of brotherly bonding thing, I thought, because you and I were way closer in age and family experience than the others at the time. So there you go.
Absolutely.
That's my tribute to Jeff Connor. Jeff, I'm so sorry this is your last episode.
Boy, Lance, when you joined the band, man, that was peak Hitz nitwit. That was my.
I do remember being in Las Vegas one time, and coming out of my room, and Andrew was coming out of his room at the exact same time. Like, he came out like his room was on fire, and we like met each other in the hallway, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he just started cracking up and just turned around and walked away. I was like, okay, Andrew's got a good day planned, apparently. Remember that hotel? There were mirrors on the ceiling. That was that hotel. They were getting ready to tear that thing down, I think. Like, the escalators didn't work, and it was just, oh boy. Anyhow.
So are you ready for this?
I doubt it.
Jeff Nelson just texted. Well, now he's putting it in the chat. He just texted that there's one of his kids is melting down, so he has to go. So he literally popped on. He flipped a double bird, and then he just peaced out. That was it. And now he's out.
We don't even have confirmation it's his kid.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right.
That sounds about right.
That was that was awesome.
That's hardcore.
That was legendary. Let's go to Rex Richardson, fresh off of eating a cookie in Idaho. Yes, he would like everyone to know that he had to postpone dinner to join us tonight, which he's looking for serious credit for, because he mentioned it 3 times in the 12 minutes leading up to us hitting record. So, Rex, talk to us about that major sacrifice you made.
Well, yeah,
on behalf of Lance.
Lance is drinking whiskey, and I'm drinking water, I would be drinking Idaho beer right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm here talking to you guys and drinking water. So thanks, Lance, for that.
No, you're welcome. No,
it's blowing
no,
the
thank
groove,
you.
man. But really, what I want to talk about
that actually makes me happier.
Does it? You feel my sacrifice.
Yes.
True friendship, true love, man. But really, what I want to talk about Andrew falling out of that chair.
Oh yeah.
I hear the story.
Well, and I'll totally tell that story, but I absolutely thought that Rex was going to say, but what I really want to talk about is my brand new book, 100 Days
I
of
thought
Practice.
that too.
Yeah, I thought that's where you were going.
I thought the exact same thing.
Yep. So actually, quick, give a 30-second plug right now, and then I'll tell the story of me falling out of the chair.
I wrote a book. It's about
28 seconds later.
It's about
That's funny.
Trumpet stuff. That was called 100 Days of Trumpet Practice.
How many days does it take?
As many as you want. That's the twist, man.
Oh, tricky.
Yeah. You can take days off. You can throw the book in the trash, dig it out when you feel guilty, and start over again. So.
And this was a COVID project?
That's basically how it started. There was the hashtag going around 100 Days of Practice, and that's what inspired it. With I started making videos like a lot of cats, and Editions BIM. They were like, "Why don't you make that the subject of your book?" And so started working on it. And so I created these algorithms for like 10 different skill areas and had to create all these different permutations for 100 days. And it turns out I really sucked at it. So
did you say algorithm?
Yeah.
That's the first time a trumpet player's ever said algorithm. I just wanted to pause and reflect.
I just saw it written
It
down
is. That's not how you use it, but that's okay.
Yeah. So that's the story of my life. So not how you use it.
Gail and Clark are so questioning their life choices that led to this moment at this point. Pretty good.
But anyway, that's it. That's the book. That's
excellent.
The book.
And so where do we order it? Where do we get it, Rex?
Editionsbim.com.
Oh, that's easy to remember. Catchy.
Editionsbim.com. Yeah.
Okay.
So now, for more important things, tell me the story about you falling out of the chair.
So this was early in the evening, believe it or not. There was there was no there was no hijinks. There were just we were sitting on these plastic stools that had 4 legs, but they were a little wobbly. And I guess I don't know. I reached for some dish with a little too much torque, and one of the legs just right under. It's just whoop! All of a sudden, I was on my back with my legs above me, and the whole table was what? It was
pretty funny.
It was really funny. Yeah,
it was pretty funny.
Well, and then so we leave that place and go to another place, and Castellanos left his wallet in the restaurant, so we bang a right out of the restaurant. Chris goes, I left my wallet. He goes back in. We made a turn. We're in I don't know where, Korea. I still to this day I couldn't find where we were on a map. And he comes out and it's like there is nobody around. And he just picks a direction and starts walking. And then he sees another road and there was like a mechanic or something. And he walks up, and the guy was working on a car. It's got to be 11 o'clock at night. I don't know. It was late.
It was pitch black.
And the mechanic, Chris goes to say something to him, and the mechanic just goes, I assume you're with those nitwits, yeah. Whew, yeah, we almost lost him that night. Yeah.
Very quickly before we get to Rex's heartwarming Lance story, there was an epic Twitter thread the other day. That was by this guy Chase Mitchell, and I posted the beginning of it, the screenshot, to Facebook. First tweet is, dude beside me on this plane just tried to get me in an aisle seat to swap with his wife, who was in a middle seat. Wife guys really must be stopped. The second tweet in this thread, I'm not going to do one of those in-flight tweet threads on this dude, but I will say that he also forgot headphones and is now watching stuff on his phone at full volume, which is some shit I have not seen before. And then the third tweet is, I swear I actually am done now, but since someone asked what he was watching, it was no joke, just trumpets. Just really loud footage of trumpets.
It's a war crime, isn't it? Isn't that a war crime?
That's right. Yeah.
That reminded me of Lance and I when we were in the Newark airport, like 15 years ago. At this point, there were these two. There were two guys who were like out of like central casting. I mean, if you closed your eyes and tried to picture like over the top hipster, like a caricature of hipsters. And these two were it from head to toe. And what we didn't see was that they actually both had trumpet cases. So we had been talking for, like making fun of them from across the gate for a good 25 minutes. And I went to the bathroom and Lance saw that they were trumpet players. And he's like, just wait for it. I was like, wait for what? He's like, just wait for it. And then one of them walked by with a gig bag and I almost fell over. So yeah, it was
come on now. You guys know that it causes brain damage over time. Just be kind.
It's fair.
They can't help it. It's just
you did say algorithm though. That's pretty good, man.
But I wasn't sure it was a word, so that makes it pretty suspect. Trying to show everyone how smart I was, and I failed again.
Algorithm.
Throw random big words into what you're saying. That's pretty good.
So, can you extemporaneously share a story about Lance?
Perspicacious. Oh, that's not a word either.
Rex, you got a little spicacious on the side of your must from that cookie.
I have so many memories of Lance that just run together. Like Alpine horns. I can hear you typing, by the way. What are you doing there?
Yeah, it's called.
You were there for that.
Let's see what
you were the only guy who was there to see that.
Hello?
I mean, that's on this call, the Alpenhorn thing.
Yeah.
Tell that story. Do you remember that? The whole setup for that?
It's mostly repressed memory at this point. The therapy is gradually bringing it out to the light of day. But no, I just remember you dressed up.
It was Brass Band of Battle Creek.
Yeah.
And we were playing this thing called the...
Gale must have been there.
I think it was pre-Gale. So it was...
There was no pre-Gale. There's nothing pre-Gale. What are you talking about?
It's a fair point. Yeah. Good point. It was, I don't know what to do with that. But the tune was the Swiss Chalet or something like that. And it's supposed to start with... I swear, I don't know how they thought this was a good idea, the guys that organized this thing, because it starts with there's a number of players, 3 or 4 players on both sides that are supposed to have these like cowbells, that like jangly bells, and they're supposed to make like goat herding sounds. Do you remember this? Rex, I've lost Rex. So anyway,
goat herding sounds.
They're like goats,
really?
just like imitate goats from off stage. So they're like sent 2 or 3 guys off on both sides that are going, and these things, and it starts.
You were lying.
No, I swear to God, because we could never get through. Like we didn't make it through a rehearsal, we didn't make it through the gig without the whole band cracking up because there's, like our buddies are just off stage jingling these bells and making goat sounds. And so it starts then with like an Alpenhorn thing. It's an Alpenhorn Solo, I think. Just like that. Exactly. Yeah. But I think it was like, I don't remember who was making the sounds. But so that's what was happening on stage. And so then I'm in Lederhosen and I have an Alpenhorn and I'm playing this Alpenhorn.
Yeah.
And do you remember I did this bit beforehand, and I channeled the. Did you ever see Bug's Life? Did the cartoon? So there was the big fat caterpillar dude, and so I channeled that character, and I was like, "Oh, hello," and I'm going to play for you the Alpenhorn, and so I. Yep, and so I had the Alpenhorn.
What the actual hell is going on right now?
This happened on stage in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Subreddit that I don't even know what that. I'm like,
yes.
Am I getting the right audio here? Like, what the hell is happening right now?
All this is true.
Brass Junkies,
dude,
or what?
I dare you to find someone who's had a more interesting career than me. So I'm in Lederhosen, Alpenhorn. I say, hello, I'm going to play. This is the Alpenhorn, and this is the horn this is what we play to get the cows to go in. And I would just like fucking like. Thank you. And now it's just the song that we play if we want the cows to come in. And I would go. Thank you. And now I'm going to play for you the sound that we make if there is an avalanche. Run! And that was the whole setup. And then we started this, like the thing with the bells on the backstage and the goat sounds. I remember Woody English was like a puddle on the, like Woody English he's had something he had to play and he just like he lost his mind. It's like Jim just now. Like this actually happened on stage in Battle Creek, Michigan. It was the damnedest thing. How they thought this was a good idea is still a mystery to me, but got a good story out of it.
I still don't believe
And naturally, you were the tip of the spear on that.
I was, yeah.
Yeah,
There was a crazy thing. Like, yes, please.
Hey, we have this really screwed up thing we want to do. Where's Lance?
Yep.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
You don't remember that, Rex, huh? Yeah, that happened.
I mean, some of it was repressed. Like I still have no recollection of goat sounds. It's probably deep in my nightmares. It's still there. But the Lederhosen is more shallow in the nightmares. That's kind of
that's closer to the front. Well, it says something about you, but yeah.
Rex is really good about remaining in the present. He doesn't even remember the cookie he ate like 20 minutes ago.
Poor cookie, man. I'm hungry. Come on. What time is dinner?
He forgot he wrote a book.
So wait, was that your heartfelt Lance story?
That's as heartfelt as they get.
Well, also, I do remember you making fun of my voice as the Rex Richardson, the real estate agent, who was a person. And
I remember that.
One of the funniest things I've ever seen.
You cats, you got to come down here and check out the duplex you got to check out. It is 3 bedrooms upstairs, 1 and 1/2 bathrooms, and wall-to-wall carpeting. Low maintenance fees. You could live in one side and rent out the other and live for free.
Okay, who had 909 on how long it would take for Lance to do a Rex imitation? 909. What was the over/under on that?
I also like
it took that long.
Rex. We had to interview twice because we screwed up the first.
That's right.
You were supposed to be the first episode, and we buggered it up.
That's right. He was
Like, hey, remember that thing you did? How would you feel about doing it again?
That was great. Yeah, I was glad that it was somebody who we were good friends with. I was like, yeah, this audio is not usable. I was like, hey Rex, what you did was perfect. We just need you to do it again for, we'll record it this time. So that was
I was so demoralized, man. I never told you guys how hurt I was by all of that. But
the second one was really as good.
It's coming on now.
This thing's not going anywhere anyway. Like, this isn't going to make it past episode 2, so why not? I'll do it, sure.
All right.
Well, no one will ever watch this.
All right, Gail, save us. Give us like some actual content. No pressure.
Chaps, I should probably depart. Unfortunately, I do have to cook. Meet up with some hosts here to get something better than a cookie, I suppose, too.
What about my glockenspiel solo?
You got to get the glockenspiel solo.
Okay, I'll leave that to the glockenspiel solo. I don't want to.
No, you don't have to. Well, my episode I did with them, they asked me, I forget what it was, but I was telling them how when I hear the stylistics on the radio, I go running and I want to play the glockenspiel.
That's right.
So I prepared a song.
All right, here we go.
No, man, it's You Make Me Feel Brand New. Right, the stylistics. It's We're going to miss you a lot.
Oh, that's very sweet.
That's all I know.
Thank God you're on here to balance out the nitwittery.
You guys we don't deserve Gail. She's too good of a person.
That's a fair point.
I feel terrible about myself now.
You should.
One of my students, one of my new freshmen has found that episode, and I guess she recorded little cuts from it. And she had that, and she had where I was talking about the fishing lure to use, the horny tog, that was the horny toad. She had that. She had like all these little cuts of like the funny sayings I had said on that thing. I forgot all about
Lance and I are so unprofessional and unprepared that it lulls guests into this sense that like this audio isn't possibly going anywhere, and then a whole lot of people hear it, which is funny. Yeah, that's our secret sauce. So yeah.
Rex, before you leave, you were at Banff, right? When we did all that mayhem up there, yeah.
When Jens hosted the ITG,
yeah. Because the other thing, and then we'll let you go. The other thing that I fondly remember was every time we saw you, Andrew and I were just hanging, because it's like trumpet players everywhere, and so Andrew and I just walked around, and then anytime we'd see a buddy, we would go, "Oh my God, there's Rex Richardson!" like as loud as we could from the other side of the whatever. And so I would just remember you turning around and gesturing to us a number of times in Canada.
Well, I thought you meant it at first. I was really wounded when I realized.
Well, that's the trumpet player.
First one got a really good laugh, and the second one got a pretty good laugh, and the third one got like a chuckle. And it was like the 9th and the 19th where he was just like, he was trying to figure out, like, he figured out that a reaction, we were going to keep going. No reaction, we were going to keep going. Like it was like he was going to need to fly home to make it stop.
None of the tactics for responding worked.
No, yes, we can wait out anybody.
It's all part of the therapy. It's all it's all part of the larger package. But anyway, gents, everyone, I should probably bolt. Lance, love you, man.
Take care, Rex. It's great seeing you.
Life. Oh, you're actually dying, so I guess we'll see.
Well, I am. Hopefully not soon. But I mean, soon. I will at some point.
Many decades from now.
Man, thanks for getting it awkward. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And now, just like Gail's students clipping that, like, when Lance finally does die, then his former students can clip that and be like, "I'm gonna die someday." Yeah, right. So we'll
it's great seeing you, Rex. It's great seeing you, man.
Where's the button to get out of here? What the hell?
Bye, Rex.
Great seeing you, Rex. Take care.
Soon.
Great seeing you.
All right, Gail. What do you got on
what happened?
Where's the dirt here?
Well, for me, it's sort of there's an assortment of things. Like I don't know that Lance and I met as early as I knew about him. I think my first experience with him was probably in that River City Brass Band where I had subbed when they're on tour.
Oh yeah.
Whoever was playing that damn baritone book didn't write crap in there for repeats and cuts and anything. So it was like I almost felt like it was like an audition that was like super mean. Let's see if we can make this person that subs for me do terrible, so they'll never want to get rid of me. It felt like that. But I remember he was in that group, and then of course he was a Michigan State person, and I'm very fond of MSU, but also he was at my university with Boston Brass. I've always admired him because of the his trombone euphonium playing with the Boston Brass when they came to the campus here. But not a whole lot of funny stories with him because I think he's always been pretty serious in the respect that I knew him, other than being on this show.
It's because he's intimidated by you.
Yeah,
we are talking about. You're talking about Lance, right? You're talking about Lance, right?
Yeah, okay. Clark's not buying it. He's like out. Yeah. Well, I think actually, Gail, we may have met when I was in the Air Force Band, because I think the Troubadours came up. Because I remember meeting Willie. Maybe we were at a conference or something, and I met you then.
That might have happened. I think it was like 95. Yeah. What we played, yeah.
Because, man, I was like crazy about your charts. Still am. Like, it's just like, I tell my students all the time, like, if Gail's name's on it, buy it. Like, let's get it for the library list. I'm dead serious. Like, your charts, there's certain people there, I just know that this is going to work first time through. Like, it's going to work. It's going to sound good. It's always going to sound good. It makes sense, and it's intuitive to play, and it always just it has the impact that you want it to. Every time. I've never heard a dud that you've written.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, well, we've chased each other on a lot of different things. Like I think you're at the American Band College too.
Yeah.
But we're never there at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a lot of times when and then I think like at Falcone, it's been different times. So we've had a similar path, but always admired you.
Back at you,
this show has been fun. I remember the first time I came on here, I didn't know what y'all were going to do, and it was
well, neither did we. It was interesting. We never know what we're going to do.
It was interesting.
I remember having all these serious answers to questions I thought you were going to ask me, and y'all never asked me anything super serious at all. So I'm like, what? I got off of the thing, I was like, what was that? And then I find out yesterday my students been watching that episode. I'm like, was I saying anything serious?
Yeah.
We were cutting up most of the time, but yeah, it'll leave a big hole in this show for you to not be on it. So,
well, I appreciate you calling me a big hole, Gail.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't intentionally set out to do it this way, but the magic, like if we can get the formula right, it's equal parts nonsense and content. And, sometimes it goes in one direction or another, but that's, I think, the best of it. Because there are definitely a lot of people who to this day are like, you did not talk about mouthpieces enough. I want to know about heavy caps. What do I do about this?
Oh, wow.
Like, okay, those aren't our people. This is if you're 200 episodes in, then there's something wrong with you if you think that's what's happening on this show.
My favorite is the people who listen to us begrudgingly because we get such interesting people, so they kind of feel like they have. I was like, oh, these guys again, like,
yeah.
but I really want to hear what like Jim Nova has to say, so like I'll put up with them. So yeah, by the way, kids, if you're starting, you know what the world does not need another one of is the world does not need another podcast. However, the world does need another podcast from you if you have something interesting to say. And interviewing like the same people that everybody else does and asking them the same questions in the same style and in the same manner and getting the same answers is just not, the world doesn't need that. Whatever your style is, your brand, like the world does need that. So there is always room for somebody being genuine and having a point of view. And as soon as you put a point of view out there, there are going to be people who wish that you had just asked somebody like Gail Robertson, who is a literal font of euphonium knowledge, just all of the straightforward euphonium questions. And they're not wrong, but it's hard to get traction that way because lots of people ask someone like Gail the straightforward euphonium questions, which, again, that's not commentary. So just kind of find your lane and then just, drive in it unabashedly. And, there you go.
Stay in your lane, girl.
Stay in school. Don't do drugs.
Get a haircut.
And get a haircut. Yeah, I'm checking all those boxes. All right, so Clark with that extra E, which is just delicious. Clark Rigsby.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello. Doing well, thanks.
Who sent you this link? I didn't invite you.
I did.
I was told there was going to be pizza. And
they were just cookies,
up,
but I had to go to Idaho to get them.
In case. So we should have been introducing everybody all along here, which we'll do in the show notes. But
really?
Jeff Connor, of course, is from Boston Brass, and Rex Richardson is an international man of mystery on the trumpet, and Gail is world-renowned euphonium player and teacher, and Clark is one of the best recording engineers on planet Earth, who just happens to be one of our knucklehead friends. So and I appreciate him in the opposite order of that: knucklehead friend first, and then by the way, it's like a world-famous recording engineer. But he worked a lot with Sam back in the day, and has worked with Lance. So what do you got on? What kind of dirt you got on Lance here, Clark?
Well, I don't think the statute of limitations are actually quite up, so I can't tell most of the stories that I know.
3 more years.
So,
yeah.
But in all sincerity, I just want to say Lance and I go way back, and for him to make actually 12 episodes, it's incredible that he's done that many. And,
well, they had to take the one and divide it in two, so it's only 11. Whose was that? Wow, that's pretty good. Well, that's. I know it's Andrew.
That's not me.
No?
That was Clark. Yeah,
oh.
That was
my money was on Gail.
Notice how
No. Just kidding. Any of Gail's students are listening, that was definitely not Gail.
No. It's a coincidence that she happened to unmute right before that happened and kind of leaned forward with a little grin on her face. No, that didn't happen actually. So sorry, go ahead, Clark. Continue, please. Make it heartfelt.
Well, actually, I don't really remember when we met, but I just remember us being
River City,
in
I think, or River City. Yeah.
Yeah. And we went to Johnstown to record.
Yep.
And actually what I remember
Rizzo's
is when I think about that is that I don't think there's not a moment that we didn't laugh the entire time.
Sam produced, you engineered.
Yep. Yeah, but Sam was laughing most of the time too, so. But I mean, it was just
hired you guys to come in. I remember we picked you up at the airport. We stuck you in the William Penn too, which that was a rude shift when we went to the Quality Inn out in Johnstown from the William Penn. It
wasn't at a Westin. It
might have been.
It was a Westin, and then there was food and nice beds, and the next thing I know, we're out in whatever that was, a Quality Inn with high school prom night.
Oh yeah,
and I don't think we slept two nights. I mean, it was pretty incredible, So, but yeah, I mean, it was really fun. We laughed the entire time, So, but I'll tell you another story. This probably going to have to clean this up some for. But Sam and you guys came to Sun City.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Oh, that's a good one.
So Sam and I are going to go, let's go. We got to go see these guys, right? And so the first thing that happened was, I think there might have been some herb involved. And if you can believe that with Sam and I. But so we got lost in Sun City and we couldn't find the venue. And I went in to go, hey, let's pull in over here and I'll go over and see what's happening. See if we, and I asked, I go, hey, you guys know where the Sun Dome is? And there was like several people, and in as many languages. And I go, yep. And so I get out, and Sam goes, you get it? And I go, no, I have no idea where we're at.
This is for the Brass Band of Battle Creek. Well, it was for a thing called Brass Unlimited. Well, I will unpack that in a second.
It was River City Brass. Brass.
Oh, you might have come.
You guys.
Okay, so never mind. There's a.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm telling the story, man.
All right, I'll shut up.
Okay, so, the thing is, I came, I found out that was, we get in there and we're going to stick out like, first of all, we're a little tardy. And I don't think anybody in the first 37 rows didn't have white hair. Oh, yeah. And we were in the second row, right? My people. Yeah, and we ran into the guys at Summit Records, and that was the first thing, right? And I go, are you guys? I don't see any. Are you guys selling any records out there? And oh no, we didn't bring any. And I go, because you're not in the business of selling records. I get it. So that's the way it started, right? So so by the time Sam takes me by the hand, we get in there and we're sitting there, and we take one look at Lance, and all of a sudden Sam and I are in 5th grade, and I'm like. And we couldn't stop laughing. So it was a great night, but I don't remember any of the music. I just remember the sideshow, but it was fun. It was really fun. And we've always had fun.
That night was crazy because, I remember, so at Rizzo's this like family Italian place. It's still around. It's like legendary in Western Pennsylvania. And we were sitting in a banquet room or something, and Clark and I, they brought all the dishes were out. They were family style, so they were just bringing tray after tray after tray of just heaping. It's like every imaginable Italian dish, and we were like passing them down, but they were coming faster than we could pass them down. And there's 15 guys this way, and Clark just goes, "Eat faster, God damn it!" So that River City Brass gig. So there was a Gail. Do you know about Brass Unlimited?
There's not. I don't think I knew. I don't know about that.
Well,
I know Camp Avalon, some of those things, but I don't know about
short-lived as I can. It was very short-lived. So it was an offshoot of Brass Band of Battle Creek, and it was like a 15-piece something.
I was in the audience for one.
Oh, okay. They might have done that once when I was in there, sort of like a big band, and the tenor horns and all that were playing like sax parts.
No, this was They were going to start up a new. The plan was to start up have another like a smaller band that you could tour more, because that's the problem. I mean, the good news about the Brass Band of Battle Creek is that you got 28 of the brass players, but that's a lot of mouths to feed. So they cut the size of the band roughly in half. So it was Sam and Pat were the tubists, Steve and me were the youths, There was one. Michelle Perry was the horn player, and then the trumpets were like Morris Murphy and Danny Barber, who's this lead player out of Chicago, who was killing, and Tim Morrison and
was it
somebody else.
Martino?
No, can't remember. It might come to me, and so Scott Hartman and Hans Bohn and John Lofton was the trombone section. I mean, it was like mind-boggling who was in this band, and so we did it. It's a fair question. Comedy, that's the God's honest truth. I can tell jokes, and I'll go and play an Alpenhorn in Lederhosen. I mean,
it's going to be awkward if we ask him to just come tell jokes. So we'll just write around him,
right? So so there was supposed to be a brass band of Battle Creek concert, or there was a brass band of Battle Creek concert, and then we were going to go to out to Tempe in Phoenix and play a series of concerts out there. And they hired an external marketing company to market all the gigs, and the marketing company took the money and ran. And so we showed up. It was Christmas time, so we did a Christmas show in Battle Creek, and then we came to Tempe, and there was nothing. And so nobody knew about any of the gigs. And we'd had, like, Philip Spark had done a setting of Nutcracker for the 15 of us, and there was like, I mean, it was one of the coolest things I ever got to play in. Richard, what was his name?
And we did a TV show.
And we did a TV show
in the morning.
Right. Yeah.
I did the audio because I got there and they didn't understand that it was music and probably need to mic it. So there was a whole discussion going on about it. Well, you know, I brought some stuff. I mean,
yeah,
you know, I mean,
yeah, you saved the day. I totally forgot about that. And so we
well, of course you did.
I mean, it was just it was the biggest discrepancy between the quality of the group that I was playing in and the size of the crowd. I mean, it was just heartbreaking. I mean, I remember I was at Pat's house, and I won't say who. So there was 4 or 5, 6 of us at Pat's house, and it was as though we were at a wake. It was just like nobody said anything for like an hour and a half. We were all just sitting there like, because we had racked our brains like, what can we do, like last minute Hail Marys to try and get anybody to come to anything. And so we do a concert at the Sun Dome, which seats 5,000, 7,000?
7,000 one level.
7,000.
Yeah.
And we played to, I think it was 250 people. I mean, it was not 500. And it was like, it was painful. And the band just sounded so good.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just
the band was
unreal.
incredible. But that's what I remember.
Just under 2% of all the seats filled, by the way. Just so for 98 empty seats for every 2 that were filled.
Yep.
That's pretty good cipher in there.
Right.
Then the next year, I'm back in the Sun Dome at that gig that Clark's talking about with Brass Band of Battle Creek. I'm sorry, with River City Brass Band. And I don't remember if it was a holiday show or what. We were just on tour doing whatever. And probably 1,500, 2,000 people. They cordoned off like big parts of it. And so you just sort of played to the center section of it. And I remember standing backstage, and one of the stagehands is like, "We had brass here last year, man." And he goes, "It was the lowest attended event we have ever had." And I was like, "I was on that gig." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
But you know what I remember out of that is that everybody, all the musicians got into it so much because the quality was so high.
Yeah.
And it ended up being really fun. I mean, you know, the Gray Brothers, they weren't too happy. But it really ended up being fun, you know, so.
I heard about that. I think they lost a lot of money.
They lost a big chunk of change.
Bad thing.
Way too many.
Yeah, they were telling me that when they were starting to pay me. I'm like, oh yeah, well, I'm like, yeah, I didn't lose money. You lost money, you know. So
my other
ultimately,
favorite,
I did lose money.
Well, there's two. So there's a thing that you should just know about our friend Clark, which is that he is the purveyor, the curator of a thing called Great Audio Moments. And I still have, I haven't transferred it to my hard drive, but I have a CD of Great Audio Moments Volume 2, I think. I can't remember. But Clark has collected, he's a connoisseur of awkward audio, full stop. I think that's the best, like the Buddy Rich tapes and like people losing their minds on stage. Like a guy in Ray Charles' band quits like mid gig, and like you can hear them, and Ray Charles is like, "Get him off the stage, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to play another song. Get him off the stage. He's just drunk. He's drunk. Don't worry about him. He's drunk.
This man is a dog.
Nothing but a dog.
They're dragging him out. Yeah.
Who was the guy? Because they said the management has asked me to tell you that next week some
Eddie
other
Harris.
band is playing.
Yeah.
Who they are, I don't
Harris.
know, and whether you come, I don't give an F.
Yeah.
They can burn the mother effer down when I'm gone for all I care.
Yeah.
And for those of you who wanted to hear my saxophone playing, buy my records. You can play them all night long because singing is easy.
You know what's funny about that is I when I was on the road, I found that in a record shop, and I held it up, and he was standing in the middle of the street. Clearly, his sax had been run over, and the cases and shambles, and the name of the record was Eddie Harris Talking Shit. It was just him. It was just him talking between tunes, and it was all of that stuff, and it's hilarious. It's great. And interestingly enough, years later, I'm looking, I go, who did this? And I go, the engineer was Bruce Swedien, who did all the Michael Jackson stuff, all Quincy Jones recordings and stuff.
Holy smokes.
So I've always wanted to ask Bruce about this because, but yeah, that's got me through the 70s, I think, that record.
Well, Clark is funny because Clark is kind of like, Clark has shown up as the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future in my life. Like, I first met Clark with River City, Battle Creek, and then River City, and then, or maybe the other order. But then I did those projects with Deanna where we did the Tuba Tex thing, and we did the band Blast Off, band like recruiting video thing, and then Boston Brass after that. So it was weird.
Boston
We
Brass,
kept
that was
kind
fun.
of like re-entering into each other's orbits for a little bit.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Well,
I
that's
Gucci
the
Gucci.
famous. Yes, exactly. The famous Sam session of I Gucci Gucci. Okay.
They're all famous.
Yeah.
Jeff, you want to tell the I Gucci Gucci story?
Well, I didn't know the real story.
I will tell the story of we were at lunch, the six of us,
That's a good
and we're just talking about what we have left to record. And then Clark's kind of telling us, what he's doing, after, he's done with recording us, what he has coming up. And he's like, yeah, and then I got, next week I got Steve Gadd coming in. He's doing some stuff. And, we're all just kind of looking at each other like, wow, Steve Gadd, you're working with him, and started telling us about him. Like, yeah, he lives up in, not far from here. And we're like, we all just started looking at one another, like, because we still had a couple jazz pieces to do. And we're like, I wonder, do you think he would be in Watermelon in Brazil? Yeah. Do you think he'd be interested in recording with us? I mean, we just kind of said it in jest. It's like,
Yeah, JD said it as a joke, and then Clark's like, I can call him. Like,
I can give him a call.
He'll play anything for enough money.
Yeah. Well, it was like, let me give him a call. So Clark called him and said, okay, this is, he'll do it. We can do it tomorrow. This is what it will cost. And we were in the studio next day, and it was a surreal experience. It was just an incredible experience. So thank you for making that happen.
He loved that record too, by the way.
Oh, cool.
I just did some stuff with him, and he's still here, but he's moving to Vegas. So I said, well, I'm glad you can move somewhere that's cooler. And so, but
when he first got there,
he loved that. He loved that record.
I was like, I
couldn't believe it.
I was grilling him with questions. And then I kind of had like a moment of like, because I was just so excited because it got, he's like a legend.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest legends, not just drums, just any musician in rock history. And I'm like asking all these questions, and then I realized that like it was the same as when like a kid traps me at a tuba conference, And then I had this moment of self-awareness. I was like, I'm sorry, man. I will stop the interview now. And then he said, "Nah, kid." He's like, "You can keep going. You're asking me interesting shit." And so he gave me the green light. So then I was like, all right, man. Like, Steve Gadd does not need to tell me a second time that I can keep asking him questions. But he was great.
Yeah. And just the process in which we did the tracks, it was just it was great. So thank you, Clark, for just that. That was just
absolutely, man,
an incredible experience for for Boston Brass over the years. It's one of the highlights.
That's the way stuff should work. Everybody had fun. It was a really high end thing. And Steve, he's a funny guy. I mean, and I've gotten to know him really well over the years. And we did a thing, it's probably been almost a year ago, but guys were coming from back east and they were going to produce him. And it was a really great project. But the producer is talking to me and he goes, tell him, blah, blah, blah. And so he's up in the control room with me. And finally he says, I touched the talk back and he goes, I think what Steve Gadd would play here is, and I'm like, are you really going to talk to him like that, man? And I said, if you're going to talk to him like that, you're going down in the room because I'm not in the middle of it, So anyway, by the end of the day, I was pretty angry by this, and I'm taking Steve home and I go, man, what the fuck, And he goes, I just try to make people happy. And I go, yeah, I don't have that gene, Steve. And so anyway, we did something else, and these people were coming from Belgium, and I said we had some days set aside, and I go, Steve, I gotta know what day. He goes, I just try to make people happy, and it's whatever. It was fine. I go, it wasn't fine, man. It wasn't fine at all. And but anyway, so people were coming from Belgium. This is like a month later, and I go, hey, you got to tell me what day because these people are flying in. Oh, they're coming? And I go, yeah. And he goes, oh, I just don't want to be fucking produced. And I go, that's not what you said last time, man. So when I was just talking to him, I go, you know what you're going to miss, man? You're going to miss all the fine producers that are down here. And he goes, no, I'm gonna miss your response to all the fine producers that come here. So, but anyway, it's been a great run, man. Everything is temporary, so.
Pretty good.
But he loved the record with you guys, and it was really fun. And it was a great time. Made music live. And that's really the thing.
I was never more scared to screw up than when Steve Gadd was.
Really?
I know.
Because my part wasn't that hard. Like, this is not difficult. Like, if I'm going to, I cannot burn Steve Gadd's time because I went, instead of,
The whole time I was worried about either Lance or Jeff screwing up. So, yeah it was.
Because it usually happens.
We're all on the same page. No, what I remember about that day was how Sam was like starstruck, and just like not quite starstruck, but just like I could tell that he was being very analytical. A little different. I talked to him about it afterwards. He was like, "Yeah, that guy's the hit maker." It's like where like Gadd had us play the first chart down, like when he was up in the drum booth, and he was like writing. He didn't play anything. He was just writing some notes
stuff down.
And then he said, "Okay, read it down one more time." And he barely gestured, and then he was like, "Okay, I'm good." And then he just like boom, and it was absolutely perfect. It was just like, okay, there you go. That's what you pay $2,000 for. A couple hours,
and then we're playing and we're just kind of looking at each other like, this is so cool.
It's like that's fucking Gadd up there.
We're just looking at one another like it just smiles.
You guys handled it well because I didn't get any of that from you guys. It just seemed like it was a bunch of pros and you handled it really well.
Yeah, it wasn't that big a deal for me. Yeah. It really wasn't.
But thank you so much, Clark. Thank you.
Hey, man, this is my pleasure. As I recall, Sam and I gave up our money for that day to make that work. You guys probably don't know that. And I want my money now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I think you should get it from them because I haven't been in that band in 7.5 years.
I'm with you, Clark. I'm with you, Clark. Yeah.
I got a technical question for Lance now that it's over for you.
Yeah, man. Uh-oh.
Is that mic that you're talking in? Is that the actual mic we're hearing?
No.
No, it's not. We're recording onto our Zoom H6s and then using that audio directly rather than through Zoom. Same with me.
If you listen to the podcast, it will be, but
it'll be better.
On the call, it's just my computer mic.
Okay.
Yep.
I was just thinking after 200 shows, it might be a little better than that. But anyway, that's
No, it's a fair point, and it's not a guarantee, but that's
okay. Okay, I trust you guys.
Yeah.
So before we get to Jim Nova, we have not read any ads. So how about Houchin Horns there, Lance?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, Andrew, because Houchin Horns aims to spread the joy of music through providing the highest level of products, services, and resources to the brass playing community. You know what, Jeff? They have free domestic shipping on all new items, excluding sheet music, and free domestic returns on all new instruments and mouthpieces when you order online at houghtonhorns.com. Gail was asking me, so I'll just tell you now, that Houghton Horns stocks the finest makes of brass instruments, including Bach and Conn-Selmer, Eastman Shires, Engelbert Schmidt, Paxman, Tyne, and Yamaha, among many others. Clark, yes, they do repairs and customizations in-house. Please stop asking. Jim, you can browse vintage and consignment instruments at houghtonhorns.com. And Andrew, don't let me forget to tell you that if you enter the promo code JUNKIES at online checkout, you receive 10% off your purchase from houghtonhorns.com. Some limitations apply.
That is not just the host. So before...
Why don't you let the guest read the commercials?
Really good idea, actually.
Before we get to the artist formerly known as Bubble Butt here, that Jim has changed his name to, I have to relay a funny story about Ray Charles that I just heard that Eddie Vedder told from the stage. Pearl Jam played the Apollo Theater about a month ago, and when Eddie Vedder was like 19, he worked in a club. He actually had like a real job, and he worked in a very small club at night, which he worked for free, but he got to see, like, this place was small, but it got crazy big names like Ray Charles, and he got to be in, like, with only, like, half a dozen people to see sound checks. And he was standing on the side of the stage when Ray Charles was done with his sound check. And back then, he had I think he said it was a purple mohawk was what Eddie Vedder's hairstyle was. And Ray Charles is walking off the stage with his handler, and right as he has to walk right by him to get to the stairs, and right as he gets to him, he stops and he looks right at Eddie Vedder to the right, and he goes, "Nice hair, kid." And then he kept on walking, and Eddie Vedder first is like freaking out that Ray Charles just like talked to him, and then he's like, "Wait, how did he see my hair? Like, has he been like?" And so it, of course, like his handler, like when he was like just leaving the piano, was like, "Hey, there's this dipshit with a mohawk over here." He's like, "When I squeeze your hand," he's like, "just look to your right, like 45 degrees, and then say like, 'Hey, kid, nice hair.'" And that's what he did, and that's an awesome story. In fact, that happened to Eddie Vedder. Like, it turned into one of the biggest rock stars in the world. That's pretty funny. So. All right, so Jim Nova, what do you got, man?
Well, what do you want to know? How I first met Lance?
Yeah, how'd you first meet Lance?
How did we meet? Probably Duquesne, I would think, right?
No.
Before Duquesne? Oh, I know where we met.
No, all right, where? You tell me. Where am I going?
Right around the corner from where I'm sitting right now.
Whose house?
Pete, by God, Sullivan.
Pete Sullivan's house.
Canadian's finest.
That's right. My fearless leader, in the PSO trombone section. He has a studio party once a semester. Yeah.
The first time I met Jim, I pissed him off. This is awesome.
Yeah, the first time he ever met me, I was like, "Who the fuck is Lance LaDuke?" That's like literally the first sentence that had his name that came out of my mouth.
Who the fuck is Lance LaDuke, indeed?
God, this is awesome.
Finally, I had to get to the seventh person. We got an interesting story. All right, good. Keep going.
Yeah, this is good. I have forgotten this. This is great.
Pete has a studio party once a semester, towards the end of the semester, and he cooks all this food and like has a keg in the backyard. Well, I mean, he has a bigger keg than normal in his backyard. He is Canadian after all. So, and he always invites all the Carnegie Mellon kids and all the Duquesne kids. It doesn't matter. We'll have a studio party and like kids will play quartets in the basement and stuff like that. Right. So I show up and, we kind of cycle in. And at one point I was like, I played and then I put my horn down and I went upstairs to get some food or something, and I'm talking to Pete, and I come back downstairs, and I pick my horn up. And I'm like, "What is that smell? Like, what is?" And like, it smells kind of like onions or something, And one of the kids was like, "Oh yeah, Lance LaDuke picked up your horn and played it because he didn't have a trombone, and so he picked it up and played it." And I was like, I literally looked at this kid in the eyes. I was like, "Who the fuck is Lance LaDuke?" And they were like, Yeah, like and you could see the look on the kid's face. The kid was like, "Geez, where do I begin?"
I forgot all about that.
Do I get this guy's blood pressure down first, or do I tell him
that was so funny.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. A euphonium player picked up my trombone and thought it was a good idea to play it.
And I still do.
Smelled like onions.
That was so funny. God, I forgot all about that. Because the kids, they just like, let's play quartets. So I just walked down to where they were like, you gotta come play. And I was like, I don't have a horn. I was like, I don't even remember. It was probably my stupid idea. I was like, whose horn's this? And they go, oh, that's Jim Nova's. I didn't know who the fuck you were. So I'm like, well, I'll
probably
just play
like,
that
who the fuck is Jim
Nova? I know
Nova?
who that is, yeah. And so then I played 3 or 4 tunes, and I'm like, I don't know. Going to eat more onions. God, I forgot all about that. Is so good. I'm glad you remember that.
Of a trip that we had to Finland. We were in Lahti, and Lance went through this.
Speaking of onions,
Lance went through this phase. No, onions would have been a big improvement,
a big step up.
Yeah, Lance went through this phase where he started.
I'm still
to,
kind of in this phase, but I just don't travel as much.
Yeah, he'd want to not really bring a suitcase, or he would travel as light as possible, and he would go to Europe for 10 days with 2 pairs of underwear and 2 pairs of socks, and they were fast drying, so he'd wash them in the sink. Like a truck driver, and
every trip was a science experiment,
and it smelled like a petri dish. I went into his room because I had to meet him for something, and I was like,
we were doing that book, your book.
That's right. I had to interview him, and I was like, I got in there, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to adjust to this smell.
It smelled like death. Yeah.
It did. It smelled like a funeral home that had lost power, in a hurricane. Is what it smelled like. Yeah, it was
rough. Yeah,
it was really bad.
It was real bad.
And he got a coat that has
it had
pockets?
all those
18
pockets? 80 pockets.
Yeah,
he could carry everything
put a
in his
laptop
coat.
in his and so he just
remember that, Jeff?
I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I was like, every trip I tried to bring less stuff.
He no longer fit in an airplane seat, but know, and nowadays that
was the first thing my wife made me get rid of when we started dating. She's like, that's got to go. I don't know what that is, but you're not keeping that.
It's a suitcase with arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. That was
that was
spectacular. So
remember we got invited to the host's house or something, and everybody took their shoes off. I'm like, I am not doing that. I'm not going to do that. And not
suddenly U.S.-Finnish relations are strained.
It's for all y'all. This is not for Biomedical. It's for you.
That was something. I try to forget that, and then every once in a while I remember, and it
that was a good one.
Comes back with a vengeance. That memory.
Man, Nova, that's beautiful. I had forgotten about that story. Damn, that's a good one.
Every time I clean out my horn, I think about that story.
I appreciate it.
Every time I clean it out,
working for you.
I was like, well, I got Lance's stank out of that horn. I can get anything out of this thing.
Yep. Man, that was pretty good.
The only worse one than that was Murray. Actually, back in the day, Murray Crew asked me. He's like, "Can I try your bass trombone?" And I was like, "Sure." And for those of you that don't know, Murray Crew, God rest his soul. He smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day. So it took multiple baths to get that slide back to playability. But you're a close second, Lance. You're a close second.
Come on. I'll take it. Just to be mentioned is worth it.
Hey, Lance.
Hey, Andrew.
Why don't you tell these people about Duquesne, the final Duquesne reading?
Who's going to do my names after this, Lance? Who's going to do my? Yeah.
I don't know.
Who's going to?
It could be right in. Yeah, that's right. That's as my wife would say, that's an SEP. That is someone else's problem. So we would like to thank the fine folks at the Mary Pappert School of Music at Duquesne University in beautiful and sunny Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was pretty much Pennsylvania. It was most. It was mostly
pretty nice today.
It was pretty, and somewhat sunny. Which this time of year we're going to go months without seeing the sun for a while. Anyway. thank you very much to the Pappert folks for being longtime supporters of the Brass Junkies. In fact, one of our first and most devoted sponsors. So please click on the link in the show notes below to be taken to the site, where you'll be able to see all the wonderful people that you can study with at Duquesne University. You have like Chad Winkler is like amazing. Mark Houghton is incredible. James Gourlay is incredible. And so we want to encourage you to click on the link so that you can find out all the ensembles you can play in, and a very, 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 very special, heartfelt thanks to Jim, the once and future Bubble Butt Nova, for making this possible. He's concentrating. Look out, people. Oh, that's good. I was looking at your forehead is about like you're getting a 5 head. It's 5.5, a 6 head. Connor, you too. Clarky, you gave up a long time ago. I'm down with that. Should we tell the story since JD's not here about the time? No?
No.
Okay, fine.
Now you have to.
Gail, stop it.
Now you have to tell it. Come on, man. You already got the explicit tag. Just tell the story.
I've got the David Lee Roth soundboard up here, which this is like one of the greatest things. This is why the internet was invented, is stuff like this, because there's just all sorts of sounds that you can just play whenever you feel like it.
Is that all David Lee Roth?
Yeah.
The whole page is David Lee Roth.
Man. Okay, how explicit do you want this episode to get?
Not as explicit as you were just about to go to, because we've been relatively PC so far. So
he played a concert with the Boston Pops that I played. Maybe we take this for some kind of bonus episode or something like that. There you go. Because it's a pretty amazing story, actually.
We'll have you on for a bonus episode. That actually sounds good, Jim. So Lance.
Yes, Andrew.
Final thoughts. What do you got?
It's weird. I don't know. It's a strange feeling because it doesn't. I don't think either one of us thought that this was going to go as well as it has, and so I'm just crazy grateful that it has, and that anybody would want to listen to it is. First, amazing to me.
Hold on. This is awesome. For the first time all night, your internet just froze.
Oh, really? Even better.
Lance has crappy internet,
out.
Even though he has spent.
I spend $4,000 a month for it. It's gas powered.
That was perfect.
You started getting serious, so then you just froze, and then my instant thought was, please show me the other people are not frozen, so that this is his internet, because that's funny as hell. Good. And sure enough, and then I saw like Clark leaning in, and Jeff was like, "Is that me?" Like, no, that's Lance. So anyway, continue.
It's really largely due to my internet that I've decided to step away from the show.
That and the fact that we're not on speaking terms except for
there's that
during the show.
And actually let's address that for a hot minute. This is the first time in history that I will be leaving a thing on decent terms.
Hey man,
like now Jeffy 10 and 2 and I are. It's true. It's not over. That's a good point. Let's not get caught. All the business stuff has been sort of like we made it through all of the hard stuff.
Yep.
So, but thankfully I've left. It seems like I haven't left any lasting damage with my former friends at Boston Brass and River City Brass Band and Brass Band of Battle Creek and the Air Force Band. And the River City Brass Band a second time, but. It had been the case. My habit was to leave in a huff, and so I decided I'm 55 years old. I don't need to be leaving in a huff anymore. And so I thought, I think it's going pretty well. I hope that I've set things up for you, Andrew, in a way that it can go on for a long, 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 long time, and to go to even greater heights. And so, I feel like. What I've tried to do, this is way too serious and I apologize, but any place I've gone, I've tried to contribute and tried to figure out what is something I can bring to the mix or to the party that is different or that can help sort of steer it forward. And I hope that that's happened here. I think it has. I mean, I think that we've done a lot of really amazing things, and I'm at some point, I think the first person who pointed it out to me was Pat, who said at some point, I mean, it was a while ago, because to me and you, I think, Andrew, like, I don't really think about, we're just a couple of nitwits, and this is just like a thing we do, and I feel very grateful that, I mean, frickin' 500,000 people have listened to this thing, which is just mind-boggling to me. But Pat said something about the document that we're creating to leave for time, and the fact that we got to sit down. I mean, if you look at the list of people that we've had, and each of you are on that list, I'm just touched and honored that I understand that at least 50% of it is nitwittery, but I do think that there's, I think I'm proud of what we've done. I think it's been really interesting, and I think it's hopefully moved things forward. And I think that our realization somewhere along the way that we needed to not just interview white dudes, and God knows we could continue to do a better job at not doing that. But I think I think back on it, and I think, yeah, I'm proud of what we've done. I hope that other people will continue to listen to. I mean, you could go down the list. I don't even want to single anybody out. I'll single out Sam, because that was one of the most significant episodes to me, just personally, just because of the relationship I had with him. And it was episode 100 too, which is kind of a funny kind of benchmark. But
that was when the impact hit me, was because at his celebration of life, like when his sister told me how meaningful it was to have that record of him, like, not just professional, but him just like hanging out with two dear friends and just kind of shooting the shit, and but also talking about important stuff and about how much it meant to Alex, his son, and that's kind of where it first really like tangibly hit home, like what we were leaving behind. So
yeah. Well, and I know it's going to keep going. So I mean, it's funny for me to talk about a thing as though it was dying, which is not my intent.
This version is dying.
This version is, yeah.
I mean, I was like, I was trying to. It's funny. I was trying to figure out like how to replace you, and it's like it's not possible. So it's like the next plan is going to be unveiled very soon. But
sure.
But yeah, it's just not really. It's not. That's one of those things where, like when Rich Kelly left Boston Brass, like Rich Kelly is not replaceable. He's just not. Jose came in. Jose like is his own thing. Like when Jose steps down, Jose is also not replaceable. But that's why whoever the next lead trumpet in Boston Brass is, like, can't do an impersonation of Jose Sabaja. They got to be their own thing. And that's the sign of somebody that's that's leaving a mark, is that they're that they're not replaceable, or that it's if I tried to replace you exactly as you are and just put somebody into that role like verbatim, it was I figured out it was gonna feel like you're probably too old to have watched The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Did you ever watch that on TV?
No, I'm aware of it.
Yeah, the Will
Smith. It has
Smith
the guy
sitcom
that slaps people. That one, right?
Carlton, with the famous, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
But the last season of that show, the mother, whose name was Vivian on the show, they couldn't come to a contract agreement with her. And so there was just like this other woman who showed up in like the very first episode of that last season. And, like the father's like, Vivian? And she's like, what? It's like, that's not Vivian. Like, it was just like, it was like hilarious. If Twitter was a thing now, then it would have been just like, Twitter would have been ablaze with people like making memes about like fake Vivian, and it was just like, it was just really funny. They were even too lazy at that point. They were just cashing checks. Like they were even too lazy to write a plot to it. It was like, I don't know, have her die, do something. But like they just like like, this is now Vivian. So which doesn't really work. So yeah, you're kind of irreplaceable. So
well, that's a nice thing to say. I don't even know if you mean it, but I appreciate it. So.
First serious thing I've said in like 50 episodes. Just fucking take the W.
That's fine. I will. That's what's hard about this, is that it's like hard not to just be a nitwit about it all.
Sure.
But I think when I think back to, I mean, there's countless times where I didn't even know that we were going to end up talking about a very serious, significant thing that somebody had gone through, either an experience they had, or a physical thing they dealt with, or a mental something that they overcame.
Jim comes to mind immediately. Yeah, his episode was like, it was like we were just screwing around, and then it got real serious and like real heartfelt, and then we were screwing around again. It was like, but that's how it's like when we're hanging out, right?
That's right.
And that's like,
that's I think what we tried to capture.
Exactly.
Like we literally had a conversation about, well, what unfair advantage do we have? And the unfair advantage that we have is that we can reach out to Gail, and she was like, "Yeah, I'll go on with you, nitwits." We know all these like people who happen to be famous in the industry, or we know someone who knows them and will give us enough cred. I'm gonna keep hitting stuff. And
slap the mic.
And so it's just a very fortunate situation to be in. And I'm humbled. I mean, frankly, it's a lot of content too. I mean, it's literally hundreds of hours, especially when you add in the bonus episodes, and just that we did some, the summer workshop things and the other, like just all the other sort of spin-offy things that we did. And I feel like, you can take pot shots at us. I don't really feel like people are taking pot shots at us, but I stand by what we've done. We didn't really set out to be like Arbans. Like this was never going to be like a high intellectual analysis of brass playing at its finest by the great purveyors.
Take photos of our embouchures to put on page 1.
Exactly. So I don't know. I mean, it's been really fun. I'm happy that I'm leaving on good terms. I feel like that's a teeny little bit of evidence of growth as a human, which I try to do and try to instill in my students and my kids.
Broken clock.
And yeah, exactly. I think that's about right. I don't know. I mean, it's Hannah has been asking me, how do you feel about it? Because this date has been on the calendar. Well, a variety of dates have been on the calendar, but this date has finally been on the calendar. And I've known that this has been coming for a year, and I don't think I've really unpacked how I feel about it yet. I don't think I know. Yeah. And I predict that there will be a period of mourning after it. I mean, I mean the word, but it's anytime there's a big event like this, I think there's a time to sort of sit and reflect, but there's no predicting how that will go. Yeah. And so that's happened a number of times, and I've got this 7-year thing that happens over and over and over again. This is 7.5 years that we've been doing this. Mm-hmm. And that number keeps showing up in my career, which means something. I don't know what, but, ask me again in a few months. I predict though, it's going to be very odd. I had my studio class today and tuba band. So I saw all these Carnegie Mellon students, and I've been wrestling with, should I tip them off? Should I tell them? And I decided not to. So it'll be kind of fascinating when the show hits to see what the reaction from the students is. I got the best gig in the world. I'm happy, and I want to spend more time with my wife, and we got a great lake house that we want to go to, and there's just stuff I want to do, and I just need enough space in my head and in my calendar to do that. And I'm just really grateful. I mean, I really appreciate being able to extend my relationship with you, Andrew, and I feel like I'm really proud of what we've done. I think we've built a really interesting, compelling thing that I'm happy to point my students to and say, you just start at this thing and you just do it. And the first ones are going to suck, and you get the first 10 or 20 of them out, and then it starts to suck less, and it starts to take on a head of steam, and it has its own kind of trajectory. And then you keep going until it finds an audience. And now here we are, 500,000 listeners later, there is an audience for what we're doing, which means there's an audience for what anybody wants to do. And it might not be that number, but if you believe in it and you genuinely invest time and effort into it, and you put it on a regular enough basis, and you make it easy for people to find it, and the people who like it, you reward them by giving them more of it, or by, offering ways to look behind the curtain. It could be if it can be this, it can be anything. Yep. Like, I tell friends who aren't musicians, who don't know anything, that it comes up in the 9th conversation with them that, oh, by the way, I also have this podcast. And they're like, what? And then I tell them about it, and they're like, what? And then I tell them we've had 500,000 listeners, and they're like, I don't know how to, like, they're like normal people. You know, they don't know how to process this. So if we can do this, then anybody can do anything. Because it's just we were too stupid to quit.
That's yeah. Well, and if you wait for the perfect plan, then you're never going to start. So you just gotta, the first episode, we had no plan ahead of time as to whether you were going to talk first or I was. Like, I think that I just did, and then it was early. It was maybe the third or fourth, and I think I said to you, I was like, I guess I'll just like be the one that like first says hello, and then I'll introduce. It's like, yeah, just because someone has to, and it makes more sense. We weren't going to go 200 times where we were like, so are you going to talk first or am I? It's like, but it wasn't some grand plan. We just kind of backed in and like, yeah, sure, great. But you just kind of do that over and over and over again. And yeah, whatever you're trying, if it's not a little bit scary, then you're not doing the right thing yet.
Yeah, you're not leaned in enough. There's not enough skin in the game.
Because as soon as you're Jeff Connor and you like say I have a group called Boston Brass when you're in school, and then you like play something, as soon as you do that, then people can say that you suck, or can say that you're not playing the right music, or you're not playing it the right way, or that you're this or that or whatever, right? But if you don't share it with anybody, if you don't play for anybody, if you're if you're a recording engineer and you never record anything that anybody ever hears, then nobody can say that you're a shitty recording engineer. But you're not going to change the world. You're not going to get traction. You're not going to get any money from that. You like, not that monetization is always the goal, but yeah, you got to be brave.
If your dreams don't scare you, you're not dreaming big enough.
There you go.
That's right.
There you go. You know where he got that from? The Sippin'
Sidney
Club.
Poitier.
The Sippin' Club is where you came
Oh,
from.
yeah. No.
Sippin' Club. It's on the side of one of the cups.
Sidney Poitier said that. That was a Sidney Poitier quote.
Well, the other thing to remember is that what you've done doesn't end today.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many people that these episodes touch. Like I said, just an example of my student who's a freshman, but I had a lady apply to come study with me a couple of years ago, and she said, I watched the Brass Junkies, and I enjoyed your interview. She says, I wanted to come study with you because we're opposites. I'm only 5 foot, blah, 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 and I needed someone like you that could make me bothier or something. I mean, so they learn things from these interviews that's not even what you're trying to teach people.
That's awesome.
I'm like, really?
That's
I'm
great.
bothy?
I played a gig with the Washington Chamber Orchestra a couple of weeks ago, and it's a chamber orchestra, so they don't have low brass per se, but we did fanfare for the Common Man at this real fancy gala. Anyway, I was like 15 years older than most of the rest of the brass section, and they had been out of college for a while. I was like, oh yeah, I guess that math really does check out. But at dinner, one of them said to me, like I'm a big fan of the Brass Junkies, a horn player, and then like one of the trombones was like, that's where I know your voice from. It's like, it was just very funny that there was like a number of them that had heard the show quite a bit, so which is a good feeling. It gets out there.
I get the thing on campus where, because I really only interface with the low brass, mainly the euphonium and tubas. I have, if they show up in my classes, but I'll see brass players and they just kind of look at me, and I'm like, and they're like waiting for me to say something funny, I guess, or they'll try to be funny, which is the other thing. And I'm like, cool, man, all right, this is okay. So you still got to turn your stuff in. Like I'm down, but this is still due tomorrow. I don't know, man. There's no map. Like I didn't understand in 1982 that when I switched to the euphonium that was like a life choice, like that this was going to have ramifications, and that meant that I was included in some things and excluded from other things. And then I just sort of followed my nose, and I just feel super fortunate that, the Clark thing is really funny to me. I never really thought about it this way, Clarky, but just the number of times that you've showed up in my life at these like different periods of projects that I've been involved with, because it's always sort of been more project based for me. And when it stops to be, when it feels like there's a different thing I could or should be doing, then it's, I'm ready to go. And, but you've been there at a bunch of those, it's just a funny, experience for me, because I don't know how to process, because I'm like all these mashups of like all the Deanna stuff and all the Sam stuff and all the Boston Brass stuff and the River City stuff and the Battle Creek stuff, and it's just like I mean, I suck at looking backwards. So I guess I was very not anxious, but a little ambivalent. Like, I don't want anyone, like, if you're going to show up on this call and bust my nuts, I'm down. But if you're going to show up and tell me that I'm the greatest thing since whatever, I'm not on that call. So fortunately,
I didn't have enough time to find those people.
Yeah,
No.
that wasn't going to happen.
It was never going to happen. But I just feel super lucky. I don't know how to say it other than that. I just did what I thought was the right thing to do.
All those things you talked about, though, man, I always looked forward to them because I knew it was going to be cool musically, but it was always fun. Always fun, man. And I know, there's a lot of times when it's not fun.
Yeah.
So I always look forward to the times with you and with the guys. So,
yeah, I'm happy.
All of us on this call are lucky that we're in a position in our careers at this point where we don't have to say yes to everything,
right,
in order to live indoors and eat food, which is good because life's too short,
Yeah.
and there are some people, there's not that many, but there are some people who just like, yeah, I'm not going to work with them again. Like, I just have no interest in working with them again because, chances are it's not going to be 5 miles from my house while my kid's at school. And if I'm if I'm missing a Cub Scout meeting or if I'm, just whatever. So, but yeah, it's, the people are, speaking of people, Jens Lindemann has finally surfaced. I tried to get him on here. He by the way, he was soloing somewhere in like Washington State last week, and the on the marquee it said blah 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 featuring Jens Lindemann, which was which I commented pray for Lens, which I thought was funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yep.
Couldn't happen to a nicer Canadian.
He is in in Germany, and it is 4 a.m. So that's why he was not able to join us. And then Jeff Nelson, in case you skipped the beginning, Jeff Nelson hopped on, flipped the double bird, and then one of his kids had a meltdown, and he then left. So that was his full thing. JD Shaw sends his regards. I can't remember what was said on camera and what was said beforehand, but he's on a plane. Demondre was going to join us, but he had a recital, which because he plays gigs like 400 days a year.
Yeah.
And then the other like 20 days a year he teaches, but at 2 different places now. Yeah, he is in kand. And Pat Sheridan is on vacation with Kalo in Mexico.
Pat's the actual text was, "Hi, thinking about pre-recording something for your farewell. What's the real reason you're leaving Brass Junkies? Then I'll riff on fake reasons, but I don't want to go on a tangent if it's brain cancer or some shit."
That's the most Pat thing ever. So yeah, good stuff. Well, I think that this is the end of the line here. Clark, thank you for joining us. Jeffrey,
my pleasure.
Gail, Dr. Gail,
thank you.
Non-Dr. Jim. You don't have a doctorate, do you, Jim?
How do I answer that? Of course not.
I didn't think
so.
Do
I look like I have do I look like I have the intestinal fortitude to follow through with a PhD degree?
Well, I recently decided I needed some letters at the end of my name because my best friend is like a clinical therapist. He's got all fancy. So I came up with Andrew Hitz DMD, which is double master's dropout.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
That's good, right? Doesn't that sound
I read
he's
it
kind of a
sounds
You're
awesome.
like, oh, DMD, like, wow, there you go. That
He's a
guy's got
DMD?
follow through. Yeah, he's a DMD.
I'm a
He's
DMD.
like,
Wait, I might be a tree. I might be a TMD.
a tree MD.
Tree MD. If you were a twee, what kind of twee would you be?
Pencil. What did you call your own state?
I can't remember.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Pennsyltucky?
Anyway. Yeah, no, well, it wasn't an actual fake word.
I'm not going to hit play, but Nelson sent me a video, so it
saw,
can't be good.
yeah, he sent it to both of us, and I was like, I'm not gonna hit play there. Yeah,
We'll find that out
Double
later.
Bird there. So yeah, we will find that out later. So
thank you all
right.
for being on this call. I appreciate you.
Yes,
saying nice
thank you
things.
Congratulations, Lance.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
guys.
Yep. And Lance, I really like your wife, so please don't do the 7-year itch thing with her, because it's only
not going to happen.
It's only been a couple years that you've actually been married? Is that right?
It'll be
2, 3
4.
years? 4.
It'll
See,
be
the
4
pandemic makes everything.
Mm-hmm.
Every guest is 1 to 3 years off. So
we've been together 8, going on 8 years.
I knew it was longer than.
So I already made it over the 7. It was not going to be me doing that.
Well,
if she couldn't stand it past 7,
I know that. I was just being polite. So yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, thank you to all of you for joining us, and that is going to do it for the final episode of season 1 of the Brass Junkies. You've been listening to the Brass Junkies on the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. If you would like to hear the bonus episode featuring today's guest, please visit patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to learn how you can support the show and instantly access all bonus materials, as well as gain access to a special patron-only Facebook group. The Brass Junkies is produced by the amazing, wonderful, and truly inspirational Will Houchin. The theme music was composed by Fernando Dados and performed by Andrew Hitz and Lance LaDuke. We are at Pray for Jens on Twitter and Instagram, and have a Facebook page at facebook.com/prayforjens. You can find out more about the Brass Junkies and all the other Pedal Note Media podcasts at pedalnotemedia.com. This has been a presentation of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network.